Oh, no, he didn't.
Girl, yes, he did.
Hey, girl. Hey, how you like my new backdrop?
I like it. It's cute. I'm gonna get me one.
I'm feeling fancy back
I'm gonna get
here.
me one.
If you can see us on YouTube, if you can't see us, it's cute. Just trust me on this. Welcome to another edition of Oh No Girl Yes, the podcast. Make sure you're following us on all social media, including Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And if you like to hear a little bit more behind the scenes, you can always join us on Patreon. We have a good time over there.
We absolutely do.
We Today's conversation is very personal to both of us. And it might be personal to you if you're listening. And so today we're going to talk about, I don't know if you can hear it ticking, biological clocks. Can you hear it? Okay, mine stopped ticking a while ago. I have to see if I can hear yours. All right, so when we talk about biological clock, usually people talk about it in the terminology of women have this pull of a certain time that they feel like, okay, I need to get married and have kids by this time, even if it's just I need to have kids by this time. And a lot of times that's a societal pressure that you get as a little girl that, you go to college. If you go to college, if you graduate from college, then you get a little job. But really, you look into, this is my prime, as they say, my prime years, which is really based on when your eggs are a bit more viable to reproduce. Okay. And so then once you're past your prime, which would be my area of expertise, some people still have a biological clock or still have an attachment to a plan they had 10, 15 years ago and it hadn't happened yet. And so that's what we're talking about today. You and I have about almost 10 years age difference between us. Where is your clock? Is your clock ticking? Is it fast? Is it loud? Is it low? Like, how would you describe your biological clock at this point in your life?
At this point, it's not loud at all. Maybe when I turned 30, I was in my early 30s. I'm 36 now. It might have been a little louder than it is now, but I think I turned it down.
Why do you think you did that?
Because I can't be concerned about it as far as finding someone or being with someone and spending the rest of my life with them. I'm not going to allow something it's serious. Don't get me wrong, but it has not been consuming me as of late in the past couple of years. So I'm not going to allow that to determine when I get married and blah, 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 blah. Because if you think about it, I've met, two people in the past maybe couple of years that were ready to get married. All they had to do was insert me. And if you want to hear more about those stories, you can go to our Patreon. But so if I was that serious about a biological clock, if I had let that, consume my mind, I probably would have made a mistake and married these people who I didn't like. So I'm not gonna settle just because I still have a desire to have kids. It's not as strong a desire as it was. Like I said, growing up, I thought I was going to follow my parents' footsteps and meet the love of my life in college. And, we get married, 2 or 3 years after we graduate. And then we, enjoy our marriage for 5 or 6 years. And then by the time we reach the early 30s, we were going to have babies. That ain't happening. That calendar was like non-existent for me. Yeah. So, but instead of, I've been in this space for the past couple of years where, I have to choose my joy and choose my happiness and create my own joy. And so I feel like if it's meant, I'm a firm believer, I have faith and all that if whatever's meant for me is going to happen, regardless of what I do or say. Exactly. So I'm not going to allow that to, ruin, my thoughts about, approaching relationships and approaching marriage and stuff like that. If it happens, I'm happy. And if it doesn't, you best believe I'm happy still.
#happier. We work. Like, whoo, that was a close one. I like to not have made it out.
No, because I used to date people that one of my main, I'm sorry, I cut you off because I know you're about to start. But one of my main things, about dating or my we talked about deal breakers was men who didn't want to have kids. They used to be a main deal breaker for me. That's not necessary. That's not a deal breaker at all right now, because I don't know if I'm going to be in a position to have kids either. So there you go.
And we were talking about, that's another episode you can go check out. We were talking about how your deal breaker list has changed as you've gotten older, as you've had different experiences, as different things become more important to you versus not important to you. And so for me listening to you, I'm curious, since you are still in a space where you can have a baby next year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, based on your age range, I mean, obviously people can have babies in their 40s and 50s. So we're not talking about,
right.
But that you would probably think about still doing it. Is there in your mind, have you even thought about in your mind when you would not consider having kids? Like you're not in a rush and you don't think you're on a clock to hurry up and do it or rush it or do it with somebody you don't want to do it with. But do you have in your mind, okay, if I get to this point, I'm gonna release the thought of having kids? Okay.
Not yet. I mean, it may come in the next couple of years, but I haven't said, oh, when I reach this age. Now I did 10 years ago. In my mid-20s, I remember thinking, if I'm 35 and I'm not married and I don't have kids, I may adopt. But let's be honest, people, I don't really like children.
Ooh, that part.
So it was an idea of what I thought life should be, just based off how, what you see on TV and stuff like that. Oh, you need to, procreate and do all that. I do love kids. Don't get me wrong. Like I got a baby niece now that I just love to death. But I'm not that attached to kids to where I'm like, oh, I need to go rescue one.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just my honest truth.
Cold-hearted. I done told y'all she cold-hearted.
But I used to think that way 10 years ago. I'm like, oh, well, I reached 35, 36, which I am now. I might consider adoption. I now know the life-altering decision that kids or life-altering state that kids put you in. And I've grown used to the freedom of not having to take care of anyone. So I'm not saying that, I don't ever want to do it, but I definitely don't want to do it by myself.
Right. And that's the thing. Some people are more attached to doing it that they're like, they will make a plan to have a kid by themselves or adopt or, IVF alone. And that's because people have attachments to what it is they want, what they see for their lives, what they really truly desire. And it may not have turned out the way they may have thought it would have, but they still are saying, but I'm not going to let the fact that I haven't met someone keep me from having this family that I've always dreamed about.
And I encourage anybody who feels that way to do it. I don't feel that way. But I don't, I wouldn't talk about anybody else who did because I understand that. Going after what you want.
I can think about the fact that, and I'm about to be 46, that I never had a strong attachment to having children ever. Like I remember being a young person and saying, I don't think I'm gonna have kids. And people would say, oh, you young, you don't even know what you're gonna do, And just like how, like when I talked to my mom about it, she had 4 kids, but she was the daughter of someone who had 9 kids. And, and so big families were something she loved and enjoyed. And she always dreamed of being a mom. She always dreamed of having kids. And even though she and my dad got divorced, she was just happy to be a mom and raise these 4 kids by herself. Now that wasn't her plan, but that was one of her greatest joys, is that she got to have these kids and this family. I never had that pull on me ever in life. And all my siblings have gotten married and had kids, and a couple of them have gotten divorced, but I'm the one who has never gotten married and hadn't had kids out of my 3 siblings. And when I have celebrated their weddings or babies, whatever, I've never felt that, oh, I'm gonna do that one day. Oh, I can't wait I've never felt that. I've gone to friends' baby showers. I've gone to friends' weddings. I have never felt the pull of, oh, I can't wait until I do that. Now at 46, I can look and say, I'm glad I didn't just do that to do it when I was younger. I'm glad that I feel like I've been fully actualized, or I'm in the process of becoming more fully actualized, because I don't have to consider anybody else's feelings, time, responsibilities, accessibility, and all those things that you do have to consider when you partner with someone, let alone when you have kids, and, whether it's a school system that you need to live nearby, or, it's just so many things that go into having children. So one day I was talking to my mom about the sacrifice of having children, and my mom doesn't see it as a sacrifice because it's what she always wanted to do. And I said, well, whether you wanted to do it or not, it still is a sacrifice. It's a happy sacrifice for you. And some people might feel like, I did, ruined my life for you. I did everything for you and you don't care. But, either way you look at it, whether you're excited that you got a chance to do it or not, as a woman, let alone just the physical process, if you give birth, biologically, it's a tremendous sacrifice to bring a life into this world, whether you're talking about your stomach shape, you're talking about your mood shape, you're talking about your back health, just physically, you're saying, I'm going to sacrifice my body to perform this miracle. Again, I never felt, and it's not vanity because I don't work out or do a sit-up. So it's not like I care so much about my body like that. That ain't it. But I have never had that pull. And so I remember maybe about 10, 15 years ago, I met an older woman who did not have children. And she was asking me, did I have kids? And I said, no. And I told her I didn't think I wanted to have any. And she said, I would just say have one just in case. She said, because I'm older now and can't have kids. And now that I'm an old lady, I wish I had a kid to come see about me. I understood her point, but I just couldn't imagine having a kid just in case I might want one day. It's like, once you do that, you're there. And so, I actually celebrate and congratulate the fact that I did not get married or have kids. I've never been asked to be married. So let me start there. I've never had anybody propose and, I was so brave and said, no, that's not the path for me. So it's not like I had a whole lot of challenges to what I wanted anyway. But at this age, I would love a partner. I would love someone to have adventures with and make plans with and build with. And I would love to not just have to have all the ideas myself. I would love to be able to go half on anything, and not even just talking about financially. I would love that somebody else knew how to cook something I enjoyed. I would love if somebody else did the shopping. I would love if somebody thought of something we would both enjoy and say, oh, look what I brought home today, kind of thing. I'm going to enjoy myself every day. I eat something I love, but I do it for myself. And I spoil myself, and whatever I want, I get. I would like someone to participate. I joke about Eartha Kitt, she's my spirit animal, but it's that thing of I fall more in love with myself, and I want you to join me in loving me. And I think, even though that sounds extreme because of her dramatics, I think that's what everybody wants. Men, women, everybody wants to be the best version of themselves and be with someone who encourages them to be in love with the best version of themselves. And you join me in what I'm doing and loving me. You don't want nobody tearing you down. You don't want nobody that wants you because you got low self-esteem and low value for yourself. That means they can run over you or take advantage of you or, put you in situations that you don't feel that you can get out of. People look for folks like that for unfortunate reasons. But at this point in my life, I don't have any regrets about my choices, particularly surrounding my biological clock. I don't have at this point, and I know I can't say that for a lot of my friends, a lot of my girlfriends. We've had this conversation, and most of my girlfriends that are my age or even older really did want families, really did want to have children. And my heart breaks for them in that it didn't work out that way. And at some point they have to shift and just move forward, and that's great. But I do mourn that a little bit for them. That was something they wanted. When I was younger, I was open to it. If I met somebody and if I got married, obviously I would probably want to have kids with them. But I just never was attached to this idea of a husband and of kids.
Right. I don't think my attachment was as strong as like maybe even some of my friends. Like they're probably listening to this, especially the married ones, are like their hearts are broken because it's like, oh, this is what we were going to do. We're going to get married and have kids. And that life isn't for everyone.
Right.
Because even like I just thought about it when you were talking about never been proposed to, and I've never been officially proposed to, but I was dating a guy who basically told his mom and his sister and his brother that he was going to ask me to marry him, and his sister spilled the beans to me. Thank God.
You tell me that, right? And then you got out.
And I got out of that situation. So if I had that strong attachment to settling down and getting married and having a baby, and I was in my 20s then I probably would have gone with that because he was a nice guy. Wasn't anything wrong with him. But I just did not want that life for myself at that point. And now I can look at his life. He's married now, has kids, living wherever. I know that's not the life I wanted. You know what I mean? So it's easier for me to say, oh, that was a good decision. I didn't know it at the time. I knew it didn't feel right. So, but yeah, kids are a lifetime commitment. So I think the older I get now, it's like, ugh.
Well, what's that sound? What's that? Ugh.
Like it's a lifetime commitment.
What's that sound? What does that sound mean?
I don't know. It's just like, I'm not, I used to think, first of all, it's just my brother and I, it's just the two of us. So my parents had to wait a long time to get some grandkids. My brother finally gave him 3 in a year. He gave him 3 in a year's time.
Yes.
So I feel like even that, and not that my parents ever put pressure on me, especially my mom. I think I had a conversation with her a couple of years ago, and she was like, "Look, find you a partner. If you want to have a partner, just find a partner and just, do this. Whatever makes you happy. If you're happy at the end of the day, I'm happy." So I never had that pressure, but there is an internal thing like, I want to give my parents some grandkids. Well, now they got 3 of them, so. Right. They might have some more.
But you know what? I used to be the same way, being the one of 3 who didn't, and feeling like, okay, my mom got to be a grandma, but she would always say, "But your baby would be different. But every grandbaby is different and special." It is. Way. And because it was your baby, it would be different, baby. And I know my mom would have loved for me to have kids. I know that we've had that conversation, but she also never made it like a requirement for her love or acceptance.
Right. So no, because there are some. I was watching For the Love of Jason yesterday, and the main character in that, he's a single guy looking for love, trying to find marriage, and all his friends are getting married, and he feels like, everybody keeps asking him when you're going to get married, this, that, and the other. And his mom was pestering him for grandkids. Like, some people do actually do that. Yeah. And I don't have that problem, luckily.
Yeah, we're both blessed in not having that problem. But outside of society continuously tries to make you think or feel, we don't have the internal pressure of the family.
Right. So I would say that to say, to my friends who are listening, please don't mourn for me. I am okay. I promise you this, because
I'm on the phase of being older. My friends don't mourn for me. They're like, "Oh, so just whatever you gonna do, you're just gonna do whatever." I'm like, that's the life I got.
Yeah. No, I'm very comfortable in this space. I'm very I guess society would tell me that my clock is ticking faster and louder than it ever has been, as I, because I'll be 37 in a few weeks. But my faith, I have a very strong faith in God, and I believe that He has already designed my life from beginning to end. So whatever happens, it was already predestined to happen. And I am comfortable with Him. I love Him so much, and I know He loves me so much that He's going to do the best for me. Whatever that looks like, who knows?
And that's when you can get to that space, and I know you actually mean it. Some people, when they be talking about, "I'm just gonna live my life and know what the Lord," and they be like, "Oh, this is so sad." You know what I'm saying?
No, it's not. It's not. No, that comes
from the Lord knows my heart. But sometimes when you see people really want something or have an attachment to an idea of something they wanted, and then they kind of, and I want to make sure I say this properly, okay? So your faith, my faith, we are led by our faith. We don't fall back on it.
Right.
Makes sense.
Right.
When you are led by your faith and you move forward knowing it's already been worked out, all I got to do is trust and keep going, versus, well, I want this and then nothing I want to happen. So now I'm just going to fall back and say, well, whatever the Lord has for me.
The Lord will.
And that's what I'm saying too.
No, there is a difference. Very much a difference. I am led by it. This is not a default because things didn't work out the way they are. Or the way I wanted them to be. Yeah. I'm trusting that things will always work out the way they're supposed to be, because that's what my faith tells me.
What's so funny? I have so many different ideas and plans and dreams, and they are led by faith and a belief I have. And when they don't work out, I am genuinely surprised. I'm like, people are like, so why did you think that was gonna work? That's the only reason I did it. I was led to believe that this was a good idea. But I never have any regrets from those moments, because I followed the lead. I said, okay, if it's an idea, let's see. And sometimes I can look back and say, in my previous life, okay, maybe I didn't do everything I was supposed to do there, or maybe I didn't bring my all. I know that I'm in a new space now where it's not even an option for me to say, okay, I didn't try one more time. Okay, no, I put myself back out there. Okay, I wasn't sure. And I've been doing this recently, and this both professionally and personally, just saying, okay, regardless of how any of this goes, I will be able to say, I tried.
Yeah.
And I will totally accept the results of all of it, but I won't ever wonder, what if I had just went and made that phone call? What if I had just showed up? What if I just said, I'm sorry? What if I won't have those questions for this phase of my life, because I'm doing everything that I feel, because I'm being led by my faith that it's already been worked out. All I got to do is not mess it up. But everything I do, I really only do it because I think it's gonna work out. I don't really do a whole lot of stuff.
But even
I don't know. I'm like, yeah, this is a good idea.
But even and not to get too deep, because we'll come back out to the
we get deep, girl.
But no, I was about to say, when you said something about messing it up, the thing is, and I don't even think I can mess it up. Yeah. These are just stages that I have to go through. I really don't believe. And I know that sounds dangerous, and to some who I don't know if you don't have the same kind of faith I have, but I really don't think that.
Let me say this. Let me stop you about that book that we haven't finished. That's how we do mess it up. One, by not finishing the book.
Yeah, by not finishing it. But what I'm saying is, but I feel like even in our mistakes, there are lessons learned along the way. So I'm comfortable with the mess ups because I know it's still going to work out. Guess I'll put it that way. I'm comfortable with the mess ups.
And you know what? And you give yourself grace.
Give myself grace.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that didn't work out the way I planned. But also what I have seen in almost 46 years is a lot of times my plans don't be the most well thought out one. And whatever he has for me is the one that says, oh, okay, because I didn't know we was going that way with that. Let's do that, and that's in dating, that's in career opportunities where I might be looking at this one thing and then something else shows up and I'm like, I don't know, is that okay? Let's see. And that's been the beauty of, for me, getting older, is I do trust myself so much more.
Right.
Even when I want to say, even though you might not trust me, I think in our relationship, sometimes I'm telling you something that I believe, and then you bring back to me what I used to believe or what you believe, and I'm trying to transcend my thoughts. I'm trying to be better than
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And like, okay, in dating, sometimes I will reach my limit in a dating scenario situation. I'm in a current situation where I kind of feel like I'm pretty sure I'm at my limit, right? And then there's still something else in me that says, but not even what if you did anything else? What if your heart was still open? What if, because traditionally, when I've reached my limit, my heart has now closed, we are done with this, and we keep it moving. And now I'm feeling this pull of, even though I'm done with everything I can do, my heart does not want to close to it. And so that's new for me. So when I talk to you about these situations and scenarios, you confirm what I generally feel. And then I feel my spirit and my soul saying, but what if you did something different than what you be doing? And I'm like, yeah, but I gotta be me. And that's the thing we say, but I gotta be me. I gotta be true to myself. It's like, right. But what about being true to something new for yourself?
I think there's a balance, and we'll talk about that in another episode, but I'm sure about that balance between being true to yourself and trying something new, stepping out on another ledge. And jumping.
But as far as going back to the actual biological clock, we can have 5 topics going in one podcast. It's those things where you have to be honest and truthful with yourself and not what somebody else wants for you or what you think somebody else wants for you. There's so many times.
Or what you think you want for yourself.
Right, because sometimes you don't take it in from everybody else. We don't even know.
I remember you telling me when my niece was born, like you're interested to see how I would react to that, knowing, the goals I still have as far as having a family of my own. And as much as I love her, I remember holding her and I'm like, oh my God, this is their baby for life. Like this is their child. And so it wasn't a rush of, oh, I want one. It's like, oh, y'all got a real one now.
Y'all got a whole baby. Okay. And she don't know nobody but y'all.
I know women, we talked about taking it into your own hands. And if that's what you want to do, I actually applaud that. I know women who, or there are women out there who freeze their eggs or, take precautions in case, something happens down the road. So I'm not discouraging any of that. If that's what you want, it wasn't anything that I thought it was necessary for me in this moment, and it's not a financial thing. If I really wanted it, I would pay for it. But I just don't see that being, an end all be all for me. Like I just, I'm comfortable with letting things happen the way they're supposed to happen.
And I think that goes. Be comfortable with things happening, position yourself to have the things you say you want.
Right.
That's sometimes the hardest thing to do. It's easy to say, oh, I want this. And again, career, professional, personal, it's easy to say, I want this, but are you positioning yourself to receive it? Are you positioning yourself to be ready for it? Like, what are you doing? a lot of times, especially I always think about career when I say, oh, I want to write for TV, I want to write. And then I have to be realistic and say, now, what did you write today? Huh? What? And so the same thing in relationships. Oh, man, it does this and this. I want to be in this kind of relationship. But like, what are you doing to be ready for that relationship? What are you bringing to that relationship? And so I think the same thing with this biological clock is being honest and truthful with yourself and being ready for everything, however it goes, and knowing that if it's for you, it's for you. And no, you can't mess it up, but you can mess it up, but it's there. And so once you relax into knowing that it's there, it takes out a lot of the stress. It takes out a lot of the anxiety. It takes out a lot of the panic when you say, you know what, it is all for my good. And and that's part of the adventure is trusting that it's going to be great and better than you can even know to imagine. And that all you got to do is just do what you're supposed to do right now based on, what you're moved by, what you're led by, what makes you a contribution to society, so doing these podcasts, I think from the very first podcast, based on my actual breakup that I had just happened a week, I think when we recorded, it was like the week of, that I felt a purpose attached to talking about this. And so I know that when our listeners hear new podcasts or topics or subjects, even though they don't ever comment on none of the social media about topics, that's all right. I really want y'all, because I want to hear what y'all got to say, but it still is affirming that we are not alone. People want to hear people talk about all of our struggles. And it's not this idea of misery loves company. It's just that you are not by yourself. You are not the only one who had a disappointment in love. You're not the only one who's confused by love. I mean, we haven't done it on this podcast, I don't know if ever or recently, but the other night we just had a session of frustration and disappointment, like, but then we actually said, maybe we should stop laughing about it.
No, that's true. That's true, because we do tend to take the positive outlook on everything, at the end of the day. And if you can't laugh, what's the point? So we do laugh at our mishaps and our dating woes a lot more probably than normal people would, especially considering some of the things.
Yeah, I would say we.
And so, and you said that you're like, well, maybe we should stop laughing about it because it.
And then we started laughing. Yeah, we were having a frustrating night about, and one of the things y'all will probably, and it'll probably be a future topic. Why is it so hard to start? Like, it seems like that's uniquely hard to do. And when I say start, it means get to the first date. Get to the start of something. It's like you just kind of meet people. And if you meet people, it doesn't progress to a dating situation. If you even talk about a dating situation, it doesn't progress to a functioning dating situation. And then if you could get, it's just so hard to start. And we just start expressing our frustrations and how annoying it is trying to start again with someone new. And then I just say, at some point we're going to have to stop laughing about this. But I don't know if we would ever find a place to, we get frustrated, we get mad, we get sad. So let's be clear, we do. But at the end of the day, we don't have a bad life. So,
And if you feel like you're frustrated, mad, and sad, and you don't have anything else to turn to, look at your life, what you're doing.
Yeah.
Change that. Then that frustration it'll be there and it'll be just as real, but at least you can go home and say, you know what, life pretty good.
I can like me. I go home and look and I like me, we're high value people and we work really hard to be high value because we want to draw a high value man to us. So when that high value man acts a monkey or don't show up or however it goes, we still got something to go home to work on. We still have something to pour our lives and passion into. That was one of the things we talked about with the Malcolm and Marie episode is she didn't seem to have a passion to embrace, to pour into, and she was trying to attach herself to his passion, and it hurt that much more when he didn't include her. And it was like, you got to have your own all the time, which is another reason why we assume that we also are always single. Don't do nothing we say. We don't know. We ain't got nobody. We need to start putting this.
Unless you want to remain single, don't listen to us.
Don't listen to us. How long did this episode take us to say, don't listen to nothing we got to say about no relationships, no nothing. We obviously do not know.
Y'all watching this in real time, figuring stuff out.
We don't have no clue. Because we'll think we kind of figure something out, and then it's like, but wait, what is this? So yeah, we need to probably start putting that disclaimer on all the episodes. We don't know.
Don't listen to her.
And you know what? If and when one of us gets a man, you know, that's when I can't stand the friend that gets married. It's like, I'm trying to tell you what you're doing wrong. I'm trying to tell you the kind of, and it's like, you ain't got no answers. I was here for all the bubble cups before you got to this.
Right.
Don't play.
It's about perfect timing and perfect placement. I really feel that's what it is. And not even perfect, just good timing and good placement.
And it's becoming more scientific and mathematic for me as I get older. Of the science behind chemistry, the science behind attraction, the science behind timing, movement, and all that stuff. I'm like, it's almost like I want to figure out, if I did math and science, which I don't, I would come up with an algorithm that I could then sell to people to say, this is when and where and who will be your soulmate based on this equation.
Mercury.
Yeah, it's Mercury in retrograde. Like, what is going on with the ocean and the moon and the stars? We're just sitting here like, y'all, we don't know nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's fun to not know it together.
Yeah. But if you are one of those people who either feel your biological clock ticking or don't care, you know, we love to hear from y'all in the comments. Don't call my phone, people.
Oh, we have most people who listen to the podcast that have our phone numbers will text us about the episodes, but we want you guys to share those comments in the public space so that other people can share their comments. So we really want to build this community. We see y'all.
So many conversations last week. I'm like, dude, get online. Talk about it. Let's talk about it online.
Talk about it. So, but we do appreciate that y'all listen and do comment. We just want to build a community of ongoing conversations outside the two of us, because like I said, we have these opinions. Our opinions are based on our experiences and logic and information we consume. And I think we're pretty self-reflective in general and saying, okay, could I do something differently? Or one of us is, I'm not gonna say which one, but it's gonna be the non-petty one. But anyway, it's
very self-reflective. Now maybe I don't change.
Okay.
But I will reflect.
Okay. Well, then that's what I was trying to say.
I couldn't even get self-reflective.
She never said that word before. I'm very self-reflective. I ain't gonna change, but I am very quick. She said it, I didn't, but I was leading towards that. All right, so we really appreciate y'all listening to us ramble about not having nothing figured out. I mean, it's a family. We're doing it together. Oh, I think we came up with like 5 different topics. I've been jotting them down in my notebook from this one episode. So we'll follow up on some of those in future episodes. So we hope y'all will show back up for those. And again, tell us what you're thinking, what you're going through, and maybe you got some insights to help us. We would love to hear them. Send help ASAP. All right, well, until next time. Oh, no, he didn't.
Girl, yes, he did.